Hi, I'm Stitch Fairy Ange, and on this video, we're going to make these crochet earrings. First, we're going to make the smaller circle, which is just composed of 2 rows of single crochets. Let's start by making a magic ring with 6 single crochets in it. After the 6th stitch, we're going to pull this yarn tail to close the magic ring, but not too tight. We need to prepare the first stitch of the second row first by pulling up a loop. After that, we can now pull again this yarn tail to close the magic ring as tight as we can. Then finish the first stitch for the second row. For the second row, we're just going to make 6 increases of single crochets. So we're going to make another single crochet with the same stitch as the first one, and also carry the yarn tail behind these stitches so that we don't need to weave this end anymore as we finish this later. We are now making the last increased single crochet for row 2. And after this, you can pause the video and count your stitches to make sure that you have 12 single crochets for row 2. Then slip stitch into the first single crochet of row 2. Then we can now fasten this off by making 1 chain and cutting the yarn. We can just cut this yarn tail that we have carried behind the stitches in row 1. But for the other end, we're going to use this yarn needle to secure it and weave it in. We can now cut the yarn and take a look at the first part of our crochet earring. For the second circle, which is the bigger one, we're going to use another yarn color, and we're just going to repeat the steps we made in the first one. So again, we're going to start with a magic ring and make 6 single crochets in it. Again, to finish row 1, we're going to pull this yarn tail but not too tight because we need to make or prepare the first single crochet for the second row. After making that first stitch, we can now pull this yarn tail to tighten the magic ring as tight as we can. Then continue making increased single crochets for the rest of the row, and also don't forget to carry the yarn tail behind these stitches so we're not going to weave them in anymore later. As we finish row 2, we don't need to make a slip stitch into the first stitch, but what we're going to do is proceed to row 3 and make the first single crochet for this row. Then we're going to use a stitch marker to remember the first stitch of row 3. The pattern for row 3 is single crochet, then increase single crochet. Let's do that again. 1 single crochet and 2 single crochets in the next stitch. We're just going to continue making this stitch pattern until we reach our stitch marker. We're about to finish row 3 with this last increase single crochets. As we finish row 3, remove the stitch marker and make the first single crochet for row 4, and do not forget to put back that stitch marker. Then make 2 single crochets into the next stitch and 1 single crochet into the next stitch. So the pattern here is single crochet, increase single crochet into the next stitch, and single crochet into the next stitch. Just continue making this stitch pattern up to the end of the row or before reaching the stitch marker. As we finish the 4th row, let's remove the stitch marker and slip stitch into the first stitch of the row. Then fasten off by making 1 chain and cutting the yarn. As we finish, we're just going to cut this first yarn tail as we have already put that at the back of the stitches, but for this other tail or yarn end, we need to use our yarn needle and secure it by weaving it in. So here are the 2 parts of the crochet earring, and here are the accessories that we need to finish this earring. Using jump rings, we're going to attach the 2 circles, the small one and the big one, and then another jump ring to attach the small circle which is on top. Attach it with the hook. So there's our finished crochet earring.